Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Millennial Trucker video blog. Hit it. Thanks for joining me. My name is Luke. I am your host for this channel. Luke is my CB handle. My real name's Alejandro, but the CB handle thing, man, that's a big thing. You know, if you have a CB handle, if it's given to you, good. If something that you made up, then run with it. You know, fake it till you make it. That's what I say. But yeah, my CB handle is Luke, and it's after Luke Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard, which is I think they got canceled now because of that Confederate flag on top. I just like to show. But you know what? I'm still gonna keep the name because that's the name I've gone by the whole time I've been trucking. So I'm gonna stick to that. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for clicking on the video, on the thumbnail. I really appreciate you being here. This is great. You look good. You look you know, it's like I hope things are looks like things are treating you pretty well. So all right, you handsome and beautiful devils, let's get on to it. Today I'm going to talk about the top 5 reasons to get into flatbedding. This is a continuation off of a video that I did about, I forgot how long ago, but it was about the top 5 reasons not to get into flatbedding. And I'm glad I did that. That was a lot of fun doing that video because I want to make sure that people know about the dangers of flatbedding, and if you're not comfortable with it, then don't do it. You're not forced to do it. Just go into regular truck driving, you know. And if you get comfortable enough doing that, you know, like I did, you know, flatbedding wasn't even on my mind when I first started trucking. Especially before trucking, I didn't even think it was nowhere near my, like I just wanted to learn how to drive, you know. So I was just working up the confidence to do that. But if you think you could get into flatbedding as a first-time job, as a first-time truck driver, then you know what, you're going to be far ahead of the game, you know, if you get through that first year. So let's get on to it. Top 5 reasons to get into flatbedding. Number 5, minimal backing up. Now this is a big plus because you got so many dangers when it comes to flatbed trucking, is that it's nice to have something off the plate, you know, to have something off the plate where you don't have to worry about backing up a spread axle trailer. You might have to hit this. You might have to back up into a parking stall at a truck stop every once in a while. Every once in a while, a shipper will have you back up into a dock. It's usually shippers. Receivers, you know, they have it's a pretty easy. They have their forklifts or whatever. Is pluck the things off your flatbed. But yeah, every once in a while you'll run into a shipper that'll have you back up, and that upsets me. That really does upset me, but it does happen. But that's why I say it's a minimal backing up. You don't have to do it that often, so that's a big plus. Number 4, flatbedders look out for each other. Now this is a real community among truckers. Flatbed truckers are looking out for each other. And that's one of the big pluses, you know, if there's something wrong with your load. Like I've stopped, I remember in Atlanta, Georgia, or somewhere near, it might have been, I want to say like Macon, Georgia, or something like that. But I was out there and I got loaded with a bunch of parts from a factory. You know, I forgot exactly what parts. Sometimes, you know, parts are just parts, just like steel parts or whatever, but they loaded up my flatbed. Everything looked fine. I was chained and strapped, ready to go, load all secure. And they're loading somebody else. And as I was on my way out, I noticed something a little bit off about how they're loading his flatbed. So I went over and I kind of looked at it, and I got out my tape measure, and I talked to the driver. I'm like, this looks a little off. Do you mind if I measure the height of this load? And when I measured it, it was about like 2 feet too high over the 13.6 uh, legal limit, I guess, before you need some sort of permit. And I was like, yeah, you got to have these guys load you a little different because, um, you're going to need a special permit, and it's not necessary for, to have a special permit for that particular load. It's just the way they loaded it. So they redid it, and I didn't really do that just because, like, for any other reason, is because I'm looking out for somebody. Flatbedders look out for each other, because I've had flatbedders look out for me, and we all pass it forward, and it's really nothing to think about, because it's like, well, you want to pass down your knowledge, and this guy was new to flatbedding, so when I was new to flatbedding, I didn't have any training whatsoever. Like, I was just thrown into the mix, and I had to ask other flatbedders, like, how to do the job, because I didn't have any training. I was brand new. I didn't work for a big company when I did flatbedding, and when you're put into that position, you kind of realize, like, whoa, this is a cool community, because ever since then, like, I've never had any flatbedder refuse to help me. There's no weird territorial thing or anything like that. Just ask for help, because flatbedders are more than happy to pass their knowledge on to you. And maybe, and usually you learn something new, like a way of loading things, or find out that you've been tarping the wrong way, or just find out different ways of doing it. So you just improve on the job. And there's something really cool about that when somebody takes the time to help you, because it's like, the time is one of those resources that you don't get back, as we all know, and it's nice to have that community. So number 3, exercise for the brain. You got to have big brains to do flatbedding. Actually, you get your big brains from just having regular practice in figuring out how to secure your load. When you do dry van or reefer, tanker, or whatever, when you get good at your job, and hardly, when you get into a rhythm, you don't really run into anything irregular. Now, irregular is a regular part of flatbedding, because a lot of times you'll get a load that you've never, that's so, like, out of the blue, like you're picking up random parts from a factory, that they sell equipment, just like that really has no business being transported, but they need to transport because they sold it to some other company down like 1,500 miles away, so old equipment, things like that. It's like that really has no winch points or anything like that, or it's just, so you got to figure out how to transport these loads safely, and part of that is that you have to imagine what happens if you hit the brakes hard, or if you flip over, or if you got to do some, if you have like 3 coils that needs to be loaded. I've had loads where I had 5 coils, and it's all legal weights and all that. They're just smaller steel coils, and some of them are flat, some of them, you got to stand up, and they tell you how much each of these pieces weigh, and you have to figure out how it's going to look like on your trailer. Do you want to be pulling your load, or do you want to be carrying your load? Which means, like, did you want maximum weight up in the front, which is 34,000. Last time I did flatbedding, it's been a while, but or if you have a spread axle, you can have a maximum of 40,000, as long as you're not over the 80,000 pound weight limit for the total of your load. So if you have, let's say, 39,000 on your rear, then you're going to be pulling that load. So you got to think about, well, are you going to be going through hilly areas, or are you going to go through the mountains, or is it just going to be flat ground? So if it's flat ground, then it's not really a big deal. You got to think about these things. There's lots to think about. You have to use your imagination. So it's good exercise for your brain. And that's one of the things I liked about flatbedding, because I didn't feel like I was being challenged when I was doing dry van, or reefer, like, that that has its challenges, but nowhere near the challenges that you come across with flatbed trucking. So yeah, exercise for your brain. It's good for your brain. Number two, exercise for the body. Now, health and fitness, that's a big thing amongst millennials. It's like you don't want to be sitting in your truck. And that's another big reason. That's actually the number one reason why I got into flatbed trucking, was because I was gaining a lot of weight and doing dry van and reefer, because that's how you pick up a load, and you got to get those miles in, and all you have time for is just like a sweet onion teriyaki at Subway. You just scarf that down and be on your way. You scarf that down while you're in the fuel lane. After you pull up after fueling, you get your sandwich, and eat it in under a minute, and just keep on going. So that kind of lifestyle grew a little old for me, and I didn't really want to continue that. So went into flatbed trucking, and I was in the best shape of my life when I was doing flatbed trucking. It was just a lot of work. When I first did my first steel coil load, I was so sore, but it's just part of it. I didn't think flatbed trucking as an intense workout, but you know what? Like, these tarps are heavy, and you had to get on top of these loads with these chains or tarps, or it's just sometimes it's exhausting. But that's part of, if you ever done pretty intense exercise, you feel a little bit of a satisfaction after you do your load. And that brings me to number one reason to get into flatbedding is it's satisfying. Transporting your load from point A to point B safely. It's when you, especially on these challenging loads, we're like, sometimes you got to spend a little bit more time on these irregular loads, because it's like, what you want. The main thing is that you want to do the worst thing is having something go wrong as a direct result of you not taking the time to make sure that your load's secure. And when you get to that point, to that point B or point C, that depends on how many drops you have. Sometimes you have, 3 or 4 drops on one load. But in the end, when you get that last piece of cargo off your load, and you fold up your tarp, and you hang up your chains, and you got your straps, tucked away in your side box, then that last click of that lock, of your side box before you get into your truck, it's that moment is so satisfying, because you did a good job. No matter what, you got it. It's a bit of a high. It's a bit of a high that you chase, and it's a good high that you chase, because it means that you're going after that feeling. And in order to get that feeling, you have to do your job right. It's a little different from, like, maybe hauling like regular cargo. And yeah, that's one of the big pluses about flatbed trucking. And I do really recommend you look into it, at least if you're to the point, if you're already truck driving, and if you're to the point where maybe you want something a little different, because that's part of my thing, is that I wanted to explore different types of trucking, and I have, and I found out of all the commercial driving that I've done, I found flatbed trucking to be the most satisfying. It's like it's all about what makes you happy. Yeah. Okay. Well, glad you're here. And as always, we'll catch you on the flip flop. Come on.